just don't cheap out. Don't cheap out on your system. Don't cheap out on your fire suppression. Always wear your socks. Always have your visor down. Everything we talked about is just something you need to look at as like it has to be done every single time you're on track.
Green flag.
Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
This episode is brought to you by Deechworks Fuel Systems. Use Apex 10 at checkout to save on fueling your passion. This episode is going to cover a story I hope we can all learn from. But I'm going to go ahead and bury the lead. I'm not going to tell you what we're really talking about. My guest, GLGT racer. It is a tongue twister for me every time I have a GLGT racer on. He's part of the LS Swap the World crew, so at least he's not rocking a K-Series like the rest of us. Instead of using smoke in a wind tunnel to show how his hood vent works, he decided to use fire. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
No, thanks for having me. Excited to be out here and chat a little bit and hopefully have some people learn a little bit from my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're okay, right? No, did you lose hair on your legs or arms or anywhere? I mean, how are you physically?
So physically completely fine. Maybe a little bit of hair towards my ankles is gone, but honestly, I don't even remember if it was actually there because I wear boots quite a bit. But yeah, no, other than just the heat, again, the suit blocks from, getting burned, not really blocking from temperature. So, other than getting a slightly cooked, having a little tingling and sensation and a little bit of inflammation, no, I'm totally fine. I'm very, very happy to be.
Okay. So for those that don't know, you were at Gingerman when this happened?
Yes, Midwest Fest, Gingerman.
Yeah, 2026 at the most recent one. By the time this one goes out, it'll still be the most recent one. Recent Grid Life weekend, you were racing GLGT. And let's talk about what happened.
So this was race 2. This was Saturday. And, the race started like any other race. I was actually starting in P4. I was on the inside, had a great start, caught the flag, absolutely perfect. Ended up going 3 wide into turn 1. I think I had P1 for a little bit. Ended up misshifting and going up a gear instead of down a gear for turn 2. Gave those positions back, and I was in 3rd place through that first lap all the way until turn 10. Turn 10 came around, and the car just completely shut off. So, I thought that was weird. I mean, and also the car died. I'm looking at my gauge. I'm like, what the heck's going on? I got no power. Motor shut off. And that happened for about a split second. And the next thing I know, I see a fireball come up on the driver's side through my hood vent. Once that happened, I started getting over to the right side of the track and making my way into the grass. That all happened within maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And then right after that, the fire really took off and started engulfing the interior of the car.
Okay. So at this point, you've already got the car home. You've already started working on it again, getting it back into shape, ready, trying to get it ready to race. What do you know occurred in the engine bay?
So what ended up happening when the motor shut off, we lost fuel pressure. And what happened was one of the quick disconnects. So I have a stock intake manifold, stock fuel rail, and you can buy an adapter to quick connect onto the GM fuel rail and transition that into an AN line. So that adapter actually just popped off of the fuel rail. So once that popped off the fuel rail, that pretty much laid down onto my driver's side header, and it was actually pointing backwards towards the firewall. So that's ended up spraying all on the firewall directly towards me. And I had a couple things, going against me on that day as well. Going down that straightaway after 10, we had a 30 to 40 mile an hour headwind. So not only was I moving forward, probably, at the time, 50 miles an hour, the wind was blowing 30 or 40 miles an hour at the front of the car. So when that sprayed, it really sprayed towards the firewall and directly towards me.
Yeah. So some of the images that are out there that I've seen are that fireball was pretty big. You shared with me a couple of images where in the cabin was pretty crazy. So a fuel fire, obviously nothing to mess with. Some people were like, oh, it's oil. Some people were, it's fuel. We now know that you said it's fuel. So that's a quick fire to have, right? Like it.
Yeah.
And it's
the
hot.
worst.
It burns hot. Yeah.
Very hot, very hot. And again, just keep in mind, this was only the motor turned off and the fuel pump must have sprayed for 1 second. This wasn't like the motor shut off and I had the fuel pump on a switch and it was just running constantly. This all happened because of literally 1 second it took for the motor to die. Fuel pump shut off after that point, luckily, and that's something we'll touch on later. But yeah, if it was on a switch and it just consistently continued to run, that would have been a different story.
Yeah, that would have been pretty rough. So let's talk about you said that when you saw the flames, you had a couple of seconds, you started moving to the right. So what is going through your head and what are the decisions you're trying to make while you see flames up your hood and then flames towards your feet?
Well, first thing, anytime something happens with the car on track, first thing in my mind is to try to find a corner station, try to find a flag at station. That ended up not happening because of how quick everything happened. I mean, literally 1 second, car shut off. I luckily started to make my way into the grass at that time, but literally 1 more second later, I had flames over the hood and completely covering the windshield to the point where I couldn't even see where I was going. But luckily, that second before that, I had pointed the car in the right direction, off track, into the grass, out of, harm's way because, I still had 16 cars behind me coming up very, very hot, not knowing what was going on. Yeah. So when that happened, the first thought, that first fireball that came over the hood and ended up coming into the car, I haven't released the in-car footage yet, but it's kind of, I don't know why I did this, but I ended up hitting my red button on the steering wheel, which is my communications with the crew. And I said, oh shit, I'm on fire. And so I took that split second to notify them. I don't even know why I did that. But then the next thing I did was reach down for my manual pull release for my fire suppression system. At that time, literally in that split second, I reached down. You see me like flail my arm to the right. I didn't grab it because it just got so hot. I thought about it, but didn't do it. And then I just focused on getting out of the car after that.
Yeah, so I was listening to Race FF Pod and Jaime and Eli they said you had jumped out of the car while it was still moving. So
yes. Yeah. So once I made a failed attempt to hit the manual pull on the fire suppression, it was hot. I mean, I felt like I was burning. Like, again, the suit was protecting me from being burned, but the heat was insane. I started flailing my legs, grabbed my harnesses very quickly, and then next thing I was working on my window net. So at this point, the car is pointed in the grass, probably rolling, from 50 or 60, slowing down. By the time I ended up, again, I can't see anything. I don't know if I'm going 60. I didn't really know if I was on the track. I didn't know if I was stopped. All I know is I couldn't put my feet down to hit the brake because the flames were coming up and they were so hot. So I ended up pulling my legs back as far away from the firewall as possible. Once I got that fire net down, I just knew I didn't care where I was jumping out of the car. And I was probably doing, 15, 20 miles an hour in the field. And I ended up jumping out the window and then tuck and rolling. And then I remember just sitting back up on my butt, looking at the car, continuing to roll into the field on fire. And that was a very intense moment, very surreal. It was like, did that really just happen? And then I got back up, and the next thing I thought was, hey, I should run over and grab my other manual release for the fire suppression, which is located on the passenger side of my car. But the way the car went to the right, that headwind was still coming at the car, and it was pushing the flames over into the passenger side, into that passenger side window. So I was like, no, I'm not going back to the car. I do have an automatic system in the car, and in my mind I was like, it's just going to pop pretty soon, and again, do what it can do.
Yeah, so I was going to ask if you tried to redeploy, or I carry a handheld and a a full system in my car. The handheld isn't necessarily for me. It's if like something happened, like it happened to you, but you were to be unconscious, like,
Yeah.
and I don't see you get out of a car that's burning, I'm stopping. I don't really care about my race at that point. Like,
yeah,
the guys I race with are more important than where I finish. So I
Absolutely.
carry one. But okay, I just wanted to make sure that you had a fire system and we're trying to deploy it in all of that. So up until this point, what do you think you did right versus what do you think you did wrong?
So I'll get into the things that I did right first, and then we can obviously talk about the things I did wrong and things I can learn and things I can improve on. But the things I did right, I'll start with visor. And I got to give a huge shout out to Mark Petronas. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Mark Petronas. He had an accident, I don't know how many years ago it is now, NJMP, where he was a burn survivor. He got hit, spun his Corvette backwards into a tree, and ended up sitting in the car unconscious, burning for about 2.5 minutes. I think it was something like that. So he has a company in Clifton Park, AMT Motorsports. He used to actually help me with my fire suppression and stuff like that. He actually commented on or messaged me on one of my in cars. I think it was a little over a year ago, when I had my visor up. It was like a 90-degree day. We've all done it. It's very, very hot. I had my visor up while I was racing, and he messaged me and said, put your visor down. What are you doing? And I was like, yeah, I know, it was hot, whatever. And he's like, seriously, you got to take that seriously. And I'm so glad that he reached out and kind of smacked some sense in me, because ever since then I've been running with my visor down. And I think that's the first thing that's really important, because you don't know when you're going to get punched in the face. And again, that's a quote that Mark likes to use. He's like, everyone has a plan, or it's from Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And if I didn't have that visor down, I don't think I would have been able to see. Like, the flames are coming in, it was so hot. I don't know if I would have seen great. I probably would have got burned on my face just from the heat. So it's while I look back at the in-car in the beginning of the race, usually what I do is I have my visor up for when we're sitting in the hot pits. We do our first warm-up lap, and halfway through my warm-up lap, I usually slap the visor down. In this particular race, I actually forgot to put my visor down. So we took off, got the green, racing turns 1, turn 2, turn 3, and I think it was turn 4 where I actually ended up slapping my visor down. So very lucky I did that. I always do. I must have forgot this race, and luckily I smacked the visor down, because then a couple turns later the car ended up, going up in flames. So second thing I did right was wear fire socks. And I know this is a huge thing that people do not do. I have worn them every race I've ever done. It's something so stupid and so cheap, and people, it's just annoying to do. I know a ton of people that have already come up to me and told me, like, oh my God, I don't really wear those, or, now I'm going to start wearing my fire socks. That's something that pulled up, halfway off my calf, and then also protected me from where my shoes meet the fire suit. So without those, again, I don't know what my legs or what my feet would have looked like.
I mean, I own 6 pair, because they get sweaty. I don't want to put sweaty ones on. Fine. You know, in the afternoon race or whatever, I'll have a fresh set, right?
Yep.
3-day weekend, I can go through two pair a day, right? Whatever is the most comfortable. I don't want to put on stinky ones. I don't want to put on sweaty ones. I don't want to put on old ones. Great. But it's cheap. I literally have 6 pair because I will never go out without it. Yeah.
No. And even if you have 1 pair for the entire weekend and they're stinky and sweaty and nasty, still put them on.
Yeah. I'm totally guilty about the visor thing. So I'm learning a lesson right now.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I was the same way. It's hot. That race, when we were racing, was 85 degrees and humid. It was so hot. I got sweat dripping down in my eyes, wanting that visor up. But yeah, so the other thing, another thing I did right that I'll get into is, first off, the suit. Don't cheap out on the suit. I know you can buy cheap suits. I bought an Alpine Star suit that was like $2,000, and it was like I think it's FIA 8856. So it gives you like between 11 and 15 seconds. And I used all of that before the suit. I think I was timing myself. It was 11 seconds in the flame. And my suit's melted. Like you can see, it started to give out. It started melting and shrinking. But the inside of it still looks completely fine. So yeah, don't cheap out on the suit. And then another thing is practice getting out of the car. A lot of clubs will, test you every year and make sure you can get out of the car quickly. But anything that you can do it with your eyes closed. Sit down in the car, have the car running, close your eyes, and practice getting out of that car as fast as you possibly can, because you don't know if you're going to be upside down. You don't know if you're going to be able to see. And then also even practice what's going to happen if you're, say, up against the driver's side and you can't get out that door. You got to make a passenger exit. Practice getting out the other side, because you just never know. And again, like it seems like it's super simple to do when there's nothing going on. But again, when you get smacked in the face and things are crazy, you want to have that muscle memory to be able to get you out of a bad situation.
Yeah. You can sit in your driver's seat and look out the passenger window and go, yeah, I can get there, until your car's on fire or it's balled up and smoking. And I mean, smoke might be less than fire. I don't know, but it would still suck, right? You can't see, it's hard to breathe, right? Fire's hot. It's going to keep you blinking a lot, trying to get, the heat off your eyeballs themselves. You're going to be panicking. You're not, when you look out the passenger side and go, yeah, I can get there, you're not panicking yet. So it's hard to practice the panic, but you got to make sure. I make sure that it's clear. I have a K-Series car. It's got a big obnoxious shifter in the middle of the car. I still have to be able to get around that to get out, period.
Yep. Yeah. So for sure. I get you just don't know until it happens what you're going to do. And like out of all that time, like I said, it took me 11 seconds to get out of the car, which I think was slow, because I look back and I didn't grab my fire suppression. I didn't grab my shutoff switch, and I spent lots of time flailing my legs. It's just, I was burning and I'm moving my legs around. Really, all I did was grab my harnesses, which was a quick spin with my right arm, and then take my window net down. And, if this was in the pits, I would have done that in probably 3 seconds, but stuff just happens very, very quickly, and you just don't know until you're in that situation how you're going to react.
Yeah. I think the fact that you were still moving and you couldn't plant your feet necessarily, with the fire coming through the firewall at your feet, I think that it starts to make you hesitate, right? You're trying to figure out where you're going to go, and it's something you cannot practice. And so it comes back to the gear you were talking about, right? Real race shoes that are rated with socks, fire rated socks underneath it, and a quality suit. And I'm totally guilty of not having a quality suit, right? I have like a 10-layer suit that was probably designed in the 80s. Okay. I'm 100% guilty of that too.
Yeah.
But all of that helps you sustain that 11 seconds you were in the car, right? Without coming out burned. Okay. It's important. Running with the visor down. Yeah. All of that stuff counts. So what else do you think you did right?
Something that's huge. And I just actually changed this. The car has not been like this until this season. I got to give a shout out to my buddy who done a lot of the wiring, Joe Jiggs. He helped me wire the fuel pumps properly. So I used to have the fuel pumps on a switch. So as power was on, I would flip the fuel pump on and that thing would just be running, whether or not the motor is running or not. He didn't like that. I didn't like that either. And he said, no, we're going to wire in the fuel pump like a stock car. The fuel pump's going to be on a relay and it's only going to be running and the ECU is going to control it, prime it like a normal car. And if the motor shuts off, the fuel pump is cut. And looking back at that, that was like one of the most important things that happened in this scenario, because if that was not done, the motor would have shut off and that line would have popped off and that switch would have been stuck on because I was too freaking out. I didn't shut the power off. Just think about how bad that flame was. That was 1 second before that motor shut off, probably, of spraying fuel. It would have been pumping fuel constantly that whole entire time. And the fire probably would have been 10 times worse. So do not have your fuel pump on a switch like that.
What size pump do you have?
It's a Walbro 340 or 450. I don't know, something like that. It's a Walbro though.
Okay. And it's probably a 450 or 440 something, some crazy number like that. Yeah. And what AND line are you running? Some nerd is going to do the math and tell you how many gallons it would have dumped.
Oh, -6.
-6. Okay. Yeah. It would have put out a lot of fuel.
Yeah, it's 60 PSI. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it would have put out a lot more fuel because think of what happened just with 1 second of fuel. That was all 1 second of spraying, not constant. So if you got your fuel pump on a switch, get it controlled by the ECU. Get it so it primes and turns off when the motor's not running. Because honestly, I don't want to know what it would have been like if it pumped the whole time I was in the car.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. So that's okay. So that's one good thing you did, and one bad thing that a lot of folks have them on a hard switch. There isn't even a fuse involved on some of them, right? They're like,
yep,
I got to jump it. Oh, it still works.
Relay.
Heck with it. We're going to run with it.
Yep. Oh, 100%. I've been there. My car was like this for 3 years before I did this build over the winter. Yeah. Do it right. That's one of the biggest things I think that was done right in this whole scenario. Looking back, that definitely saved me.
Okay. Anything else?
Buying an automatic system. So this is, Mark spec'd out this system for me. It was a spa system. It has a 200-degree glass fuse. You can get a 175, a 200, and I think it's a 225. I opted for the middle range one. And it was mounted right in the center of my car next to my seat. And it did not go off. We're both disappointed in the fact that it didn't go off. You buy an automatic system, you put trust in it, you hope it's going to be there when you need it. But nothing's perfect. We're in contact with the manufacturer and we're going to actually test that fuse, and we're going to kind of figure out why it didn't go out or didn't go off. But it needs to, by the instructions, it needs to be in a 200-degree, it has to have 200 degrees on it for 5 seconds for that glass fuse to melt it, which I think is a lot. I don't know why it needs to be 5 seconds. I think if you get flashed with that type of heat for a second or two, I think it should go off. But again, you don't want to mount it against the firewall because, there could be some heat and you have it falsely go off. So that's why we opted for the middle, right on the tunnel, right next to my seat. And kind of the way the flames were coming in, they were hitting my seat and kind of going over the glass fuse. So it just ended up not going off, which is unfortunate. But I still consider that something that I did right. I spent the extra money. I tried to get an automatic system and kind of still debating on what I'm going to do next. I don't know if I'm going to go with that same system and put it in a different location, Lifeline has like some, what is it, like the protecto wire, which runs through the car and like along the firewall and around, and that actually has to melt for it to go off. But it is in more than just one area, so that might be an option. You know, I don't know. Again, disappointed it didn't go off, but just going to hopefully try to improve it on the next system.
Yeah, that is disappointing, but it might have just been a combination of like the temperature requirement, duration, and like where it was placed, right? Like it's that combination, especially for a 5-second duration, seems like a lot, right? So,
yeah. Again, I mean, the flames probably burning 1,500, 1,600 degrees. My seat was on fire, and it was about 3 inches from it. So, like, I would think it would have gotten to 200 degrees, although it wasn't in direct flame. But again, I don't know yet. We're actually going to test it, sending it back to them, and we're going to, I'll let everyone know what we find out and kind of what I go with as far as the system moving forward.
Okay. Any more things you did right? You're here, so you did more than you think you did. So,
yeah, no, man, off the top of my head, I don't know. I think that was everything I did right. I think we talked about that. Yeah. So I had some time to think about things I've done wrong and looking back at the footage and seeing how quickly the fire entered the cabin of the car. I can say there was definitely some things I did wrong and some things that I'm definitely going to improve on moving forward. And one of the biggest things is that a firewall is called a firewall for a reason. That's supposed to be a wall that protects you from the fire. And in my case, that didn't happen. We're always running different lines. We're running, like for me, I have dry sump. We're running stuff through the firewall constantly. And it's so easy just to drill a hole in the wall and run it through there, grab a grommet or maybe not, and just call it good. And looking back at the video that I'm gonna release pretty soon, the flames came through so fast. I mean, like within a second, they were flying. As it looked as if I had a 1 foot opening in the firewall. And honestly, what I had was 3 holes. One of them was a 2-inch oval hole that had all my sensor wires and stuff going on it, which did have a grommet on them. Had a slit running through the middle of it, but with the wires going through it, there were still gaps on either side of that grommet, allowing air to go through. The other hole that I had was I actually have my ABS in the passenger side of the inside of the car. So I have brake lines running in and brake lines running back out to the master. There was another hole about 1.5 inches wide. That one did not have a grommet. So there was, I think it was the 2 lines coming in and then one of the driver's side line going out. So 3 brake lines running through there. Again, probably 1 inch gap on that. And then the other mistake that I made was when I made the car, went from manual to the 8 HP swap over the winter, there was a clutch line hole that used to go up through the back of the booster into the master cylinder. That one I just visually missed because it's behind the brake booster and you don't see it when you stand at the front of the car or the side of the car. It's very hard to see. That hole was about 3/4 of an inch to an inch. So this all sounds like really, really small. But when air is passing through it, again, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, and when you have a headwind of 30 or 40 or 50 miles an hour, wherever air is going to get blown, flames are going to follow that air path. And they shot into the car so fast from those 3 holes that the entire driver's side, all the way up to my waist, was completely engulfed in flames.
Yeah. So this is one thing I'm really tight about with my car is bulkhead fittings going through the firewall. Whatever's passing through there doesn't get to pass through there without being as airtight as I can make it, because fuel vapor catches fire. So that's what's catching fire is the vapor. So it took a flash to get into the cabin with all the air that was allowed to move through. I mean, you were moving forward, you had the headwinds, and you had the holes, and that starts to be a problem. So,
yeah, totally. So trust me, from now on, that firewall is going to be sealed up like crazy. Bulkheads, like you said, everything that I can do. I've been looking into like some aviation stuff of like sealing the wires, and even, because even if you just have a regular grommet, it's not good enough. It only takes a little bit of air for it to be able to fly through there. It's crazy. Like from my video, you can see it literally looks like there's no firewall. It's insane how these little holes allowing tons of vapor and air to come through and then ignite. It's wild how sealed your firewall needs to be.
grommets protect what's going through the firewall from getting cut. It does not protect it from air going through. So,
Nope.
yeah,
Not at all. So that was the biggest thing. Another couple other small things that I could definitely change is, although I had the auto system, where my manual pull strings were in an inconvenient spot. So I had it save my the shifters to the right of me. It was on the tunnel on the passenger side. So I had to reach my arm down, and I almost can't see it with my helmet, like being strapped in, like trying to look down to the right. I almost can't see it. So that's why, like, I flailed my arm to the right. I didn't see it. I didn't grab it. I focused on getting out of the car. Moving forward, I'm going to put it on the driver's side by the door, right by the steering wheel, where I can just grab it and see it at all times. So that needs to be in a very easy, accessible spot. And I probably would have pulled it if it was there and not where it was right now. So, and then the other thing is, again, killing the main switch. I got punched in the face with these flames, and I didn't shut the power off. Like we talked about already, fuel pump. If that was on, one of the biggest things I could have done was turn the power off, and I didn't do that. Again, you're not thinking. When it's 1600 degrees and you're just trying to get out of the car, you forget to do a lot of these. But again, I should have hit the main switch. That's what I should have done. And then also looking back at my window net, it took me a few grabs, a few pushes to get my window net down. I mean, even just practicing that, making your window net so easy to pop off is something that's very, very important, because every second's really counting when you're trying to get out of the car that quick.
another thing I'll add is you need to make sure all your line fittings are actually tight from your bottle out to the nozzles. I was a tech inspector, chief of tech for NASA Mid-Atlantic for a while, over a decade, and I've seen, before it was even mandatory, because it was 15, 20 years ago before I was doing this, I've seen stuff where it's like, why even have it? It's going to blow right off the car. You pull it, that pressure is going to release, and it's going to blow right off the car. So this is something to plan out. Your fire suppression is something to plan out and really take your time doing. Try not to hodgepodge it too much. The other thing is your pull lines should be like secure. There should be no slack. So if you pull it, you don't want to keep pulling it because of the slack. I've seen a couple drifters who had like pull tabs or their pull handles, and they didn't secure any of that line all the way around their driver's seat, all the way to the passenger side where the bottle's mounted. And they're just pulling and pulling and pulling. And it just didn't, like, it finally went off. But I'm like, that's not the point. It's supposed to be tight. It's supposed to react.
Yeah. Another thing with that is the pathway that you actually go with that pull line. Make it big, long, swooping, because I've heard of people breaking them. They go to pull them and they break because they have so many turns and kinks in that I think you should absolutely be testing that before you even connect that to the bottle, and make sure it freely moves. And that's something that, like, I don't know, you're washing your car, you get rain in your car, season to season, that might be something that you don't check. I think every season, or at least, you should be disconnecting that and pulling that pull cord, because it could get rusted, or who knows, it could be next to something that's getting hot, and then that sheathing on the outside is starting to swell and make that not work. Again, you don't know until you go to use it. And then I've heard of them breaking because they're just so hard to pull.
For sure. as long as the system is new, okay. As soon as it's like first bottle year that you need to like do your replacement, which is 3 years, I think, you definitely need to start checking everything. And
Yeah.
these cars vibrate. We're not very nice to these things. We build them to do things they were never intended to do. Check everything. When we're talking nut and bolt check, at least once a season, you got to do the fire system. At least, you know.
Yeah, and that's something I
check
didn't
it.
do. I'm not bolt checking the car all the time. Last year to this year, I've not touched the fire system. I've never done anything. I've never checked the pull strings. I've never done anything.
Yeah. So, all right.
And then let me see. Last thing would be, well, there's two things I think I got left. It's quick disconnects. That was the reason that this happened. I will never ever use, and GM uses them on their cars all the time. It's not something I would be on track with. The vibrations, I don't know what happened, but all I know is that thing popped off and that caused all of this mess. So
is it the plastic press fit that has the clamp that goes over the top?
Yeah, so there's two different designs. There's the plastic press fit one, which is one-time use. I've learned. I did not know that. It's one-time use. They say you clip that on one time and you never use that clip again. So in my situation, it was used multiple times.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah. And ever since this has happened, I think it was the Sub 2 Club messaged me, and they had a car burn down a couple weeks ago with the same exact thing happen. I've had a local friend of mine message me on his Trailblazer. He said I had that exact thing pop off. Luckily, the car had just started. It was cold. It sprayed fuel all over and didn't ignite. I've had multiple people message me and say they've had the same issue that I have, and I have no idea why they're still selling these things.
Well, okay, so we're LS cars for sure, and the rest of us need to go check. My Honda has quick disconnects on the K series fuel rail, so stock one. So
I don't care if it's stock. Yeah, GM has a lot of stock ones on there. It's been proven to be a weak point, and honestly, it's like just. I'm thinking about if I'm going to keep the stock fuel rail, I'm going to cut that off and weld an AN bung onto the fuel rail there. Or I'm just going to go with aftermarket fuel rails with AN line. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's the easiest way to go. Why even start welding and worry about boogering stuff up or having a pinhole or something there? Just buy what is machined to do what you need it to do. So,
yeah, because that $20 fitting almost cost me my life and is, burned up tens of thousands of dollars.
For sure. Your engine bay looked a little like the inside of my big green egg. So it's a little barbecue-y in there.
Yep, barbecue. Yep.
So
and then last thing, I got one last thing that I want to talk about is that I'm guilty of something I didn't do right, is having the door easy to open. You'll see in the video, I just jumped out leaving the door because I didn't even want to waste another second trying to open it because I have carbon doors on my car and we have that metal piece that used to go to the door handle. So again, I'm rushing, throwing the car together last year, trying to get it to an event, and I just left the wire hanging. So my wire just hangs in the bottom of the door. I have to reach over, go down, dig to the bottom of the door, grab that metal piece, bring it up, and then pull it forward for my door to open. And that's stupid. That takes way too long. What really needed to be done is extend that wire all the way to the other side of the door at horizontally so I can push down on it or make some sort of lever or something, because I luckily didn't even try because I know how hard and how much time that would have taken, probably 2 seconds for me to reach down there, grab that thing. And I just ended up bailing out the window. But I'm a smaller guy. A lot of guys wouldn't have had that option to be able to get through the steering wheel and get out of the window without opening the door.
Yeah, I would fit, but man, like a wine cork coming out of the bottle, boy, I would be pressing out. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you don't have a quick way to get your door open and you can't get out, you got to fix that. That's for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was stupid.
All right.
For sure.
So I want to talk about the mental side of this a little bit. One, what are you doing to prepare yourself to get back into the car? But also, when you were on track, you had the situational awareness, right? You weren't red misted. You weren't distracted by over driving, and you were able to operate. And so let's talk a little bit about how you're preparing to get back out there. And then we'll talk about how important it is to have your awareness,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that just comes with time and experience. If this event happened, I think on my first or second race, I would have been a lot different because I was a lot more amped up. And now that I have some, experience over the last couple of years doing this, I literally before a race, while I'm in the hot pits, I intentionally focus on my breathing. I sit there and breathe slow. I slow my heart rate down. I try to get myself calm. And before I even go out there for that warm up lap. And I think that's very important because I last year even used to just, I was so amped up. I was, my heart rate was racing. I was just, and that makes you make mistakes. I think the most calm that you can be, obviously we're doing something very dangerous and you're not going to be the most calm person in the world, but I think that's very important because it helps you drive better, not just getting out in an emergency situation, but you're going to drive a ton better. You're going to be able to focus on your line. You're going to look ahead. You're going to have tons more situational awareness when cars are around you. And again, that really helped me when, something tragic like this happened. It's like, okay, just relax for a second. Oh, the car shut off, and let's move it over. The first thing, car move up. Let's just slowly move it over to the right side of the track. Let's look for a flag station. Let's get it on the grass.
But you made a decision. Why did you go right instead of left? Right? Like you have fractions of seconds to make these decisions. So
So I'm getting offline, and I knew I had 16 or 17 cars, whatever, behind me that were going to track out at speed on that turn, exiting turn 10. And so although the flag station was on the left side of the track, I chose to go to the right because I knew that's not where anybody was going to drive.
Right. So this is one of my big things when I saw it. I was like, okay, he did what he was supposed to do. He got off the track. He got out of the car. Everything was clean, and he didn't cut across the track necessarily in front of somebody. He had the situational awareness of the cars around him. He knew what was coming. He knew where to go. Like, these are all things that you have to process in, fractions of seconds, right? Because as soon as you go, oh, the car's shut off, and you're like, okay, I'm going to take it offline. As soon as you made that decision, there was fire, and you're like, oh, my next move has to be, right? Like, this stuff is coming at you so fast that you have to be comfortable in the car. You have to be ready when you're in the car. And, you can't be distracted. You can't be overwhelmed. This is important, right? Like, it's one of the biggest things that your fire went as well as it absolutely could have, in my opinion. Okay. You come out unscathed, the car's rebuildable, and no one else got hurt in the process. But you could have made a wrong decision. You could have been unaware of where you are and who's coming behind you. Some people go, heck with the rest of them, or they don't even remember they're racing. They just panic, right? It's that level of awareness that we have to have as racers. And I think it's completely important. Imagine if you would have had your visor up, right? What decision would have changed, right? You would have, it would have delayed a decision maybe, So there's so many critical points that you were able to string together and do correctly because you were aware, you knew where you were on the track, you knew where the flag stand was going to be, you knew where the cars were going to track out, You knew where to take the car, and then you got to go through your fire checklist, which is a terrible thing to talk about, but it's important. We have to understand, now when we do jump out drills with NASA, we have to have the car running. We shut the car off and then we jump out because it's in our process. We're not driving. We're always driving with the car on, right? So step one is hit the power. That's your next thing, right? Like you have to learn that part. But you did that. If that was your one mistake, but the thing was on a relay, okay, you're okay. But if it's not on a relay and you don't hit that, you're even bigger trouble, like we talked about. So it's really important.
Yeah, because mistakes snowball, and let's just go back to that first second where the car turned off, and I knew I had a problem. First thing I did was look inside, get offline, and start going into the grass. That 1 second thought, let's just move forward if I made a mistake there on how much that would have snowballed. If I stayed on track, if I stayed on line, what was the next thing that happened? I couldn't see. The flames were completely covered the entire car. I couldn't see anything. I had no idea where I was going. At that point, the car was just going where it was going. And if I had not pointed it in that direction in that 1 split second decision, I would have been on track. And what's the next thing I did? I jumped out of the car. I would have jumped out of the car wherever that was. I wasn't thinking, I'm online. I would have jumped out of the car if I was online on the pavement. And I would have had 16 cars coming behind me. So once, like you said, that split second decision to point the car in the right direction ended up having me safely jump into the grass completely out of, the path of any other cars.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about that. That's crazy. But this is the level of awareness that we need to have. These are the risks we're taking as drivers when we go out there, right? This is something that could happen. Is it 1 in a million? Is it 1 in 10 million? It's rare, okay? But it does happen. It happens every year across the world, across the globe. There's a fire at racetracks. I don't want to say every day, but
it happens.
Frequent enough. They mandate fire systems for a reason because it happens enough. It's dangerous, right? Like we have to be ready for this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost literally thought man, I got to put a fire system in the car. Thinking of it like that. And then I kind of flipped. And before this even happened, I was lucky. I bought a 10-pound bottle. I know we're all trying to save weight, but I got a big 10-pound bottle in there because that supposedly with 4 nozzles is going to run for 10 seconds. I know a lot of people got that small, I don't even know what it is, but probably half the size bottle in the car. And why would you want a little bit more time? If you're going to put the bottle in the car, put the big bottle in the car. You know what I mean? We're talking a difference of 1 gallon of fuel, in pounds. So.
Yeah. And GLGT, GLTC, turn the horsepower up a little bit or whatever, right? Find a weight to take out somewhere else. It's, these are places not to take your compromises, right? Your safety gear. This is part of your safety gear. No, it's not your helmet. It's not your fancy carbon fiber helmet. It's not your, whatever the new Hans device is going to be. It's not the custom, embroidered suit that you bought. It's not the fancy shoes, right? But this is part of your kit. This is part of your gear to keep you safe. So don't skimp out on that stuff. I'm going to go, my next system's going to be a 10-pounder for sure. So I think I have a 3.5 in it, but
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I might think I've been looking into the electrical systems. There's always, positive and negatives about those as well. It would have been real nice just to be able to slam a button, on the dash and have that go off. But then again, having an electric system, there's a chance it doesn't work just like mine did. There's always that chance. That's why you got to be prepared to get out of the car as fast as you can. But again, with those electric systems, you got a battery and you got to check that battery and you have to arm it every time you get in the car. So there are other processes with an electrical system that you might miss and it might not work, just like my automatic one with that glass fuse didn't work. So nothing's perfect. you got to just almost expect that stuff to not work. I would just say get that manual pulse cable in the most accessible, visible spot you can in the car. And just, even if you have an auto system, think you have to grab it. It's just something you have to do. Like I, in my head, was thinking like, oh, even when I got out of the car, I'm like, I'm not going back to the car. That auto systems. Like I put a lot of faith into that auto system that ended up failing.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate. I don't know. Well, maybe I'll reach out to you, or you can put out a video on what they said failed about it, right? Because if it was simply a thing about placement, then you can get another one and place it better. Maybe they need to update their instructions,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's going to be placement again. Like the side of my seat probably blocked a lot of the heat, but again, you don't want it next to the firewall where it gets really hot. So it's just like, where's the best spot? I thought I put it in the best spot, but it didn't work for me.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with this event that occurred and what people should learn?
Well, if you made it this far in the podcast, I hope you literally go through every single thing that I just said to do and learn from everything that I just did wrong. I did a lot of things right, which is why I'm here completely unscathed today, and a few things wrong that I'm going to improve on. And I know how it is. I wrench on my own car. I'm always down to the last day, the last night. It's midnight before an event, and I'm trying to get the car to, leave in the morning. And there's things I don't do. It just happens. There's stuff you forget. And looking at safety and looking at anything that has to do with your fire suppression and safety, there's absolutely no way, especially fuel lines, fuel fittings, the best. Just buy the best fittings you can. Get some good brand like Vibrant or something. Spend the money. Make sure it's all tight. Just don't cheap out. Don't cheap out on your system. Don't cheap out on your fire suppression. Always wear your socks. Always have your visor down. Everything we talked about is just something you need to look at as like it has to be done every single time you're on track. And that also, honestly, HPD. Like I did HPD for years and years and years, and I was wearing T-shirts and nothing else. I don't care if it's a stock car, and if you are on track and you're pushing that car to the limits, I would not get in it without a full fire suit on moving forward. HPD, even time attack. Time attack guys don't have to. Why are you not doing it? Like what? Why not? Why are you not doing it? Like just look at my video. It happens so quickly. Just be prepared.
Absolutely. Especially the time attack guys. They're running around. They're basically, well, some of them aren't caged, but they're basically just clapped out race cars that aren't going door to door, right? Like they're almost or faster, like depending on classes and all that.
They're faster. A lot of the street GT and stuff. They're running faster times than us in GT.
Yeah. So there's no excuse. Yeah. The only thing worse would be if they were in flip flops, but it's pretty close. When that fire came through your firewall, flip flops and T-shirts be damned. That was going to hurt.
Oh,
so
I'm
glad you're okay.
It'd be a very different conversation if that was the case.
So I want to talk to you about the 2026 segment. So this is something I ask my racers, and it is you are rebuilding your car, but if you were to choose this for your race car, ABS or no ABS in your race car?
Are we racing it or are we learning how to drive?
Racing it.
ABS.
Okay.
So I think it's really important to get in a car with no nannies, no help, like a Miata or an E36, and just on street tires, no aero. No, you got to go out and just learn how to drive a car. And then once you understand that, and now we're starting to move forward, we're starting to compete. I mean, ABS, a couple things. ABS is going to make you drive faster. It can also help you in mistakes. Maybe you went a little too far and you really got in the ABS and it saves you. There can be, I've heard the back and forth. It allows people to overdrive because they know they could rely on the ABS. But I look at it as it saves you, and it saves me many times when I've gone a little bit too deep, and the wheels didn't lock up. So I like ABS for racing.
Okay, so here's the follow-up since you're a yes ABSer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you apply the brakes? Are you riding the ABS, or are you like thresholding, and if it locks at the end of your braking zone, wherever that is, then it locks or it kicks in? How are you using it?
So definitely we'll practice before every race on the track. I'm getting into the ABS hard, and I'm finding out where that limit is on the track, and then I'm pulling it back a little bit. The ABS is still engaging when I'm braking. I'm just not stuffing it down to the floor. So yes, every brake zone, I'm getting some sort of activation of the ABS, but it's just not, I'm not just riding it. I'm not fully into it.
Okay. All right, Chris. I really appreciate you coming on the show, sharing with us. Hopefully we can learn. We'll get this out in a week or so, not this Sunday, but the next. So, but thanks again, man.
For sure. I appreciate you having me on, and I really, really hope this can help some guys out there. Just like I said, when I mentioned Mark Petronas before, he was riding me about my visor. He helped me out. And, if I could help one person from this podcast, we're doing good here.
Amen. Amen. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.